Today we're going to take the two top-end control boots from the two biggest brands on the market, Adidas and Nike, and do what we do best here on BootWizard. We're going to put them head to head to find out which one of these you should potentially be going out and buying, because both of these are a lot of money and you better make sure your hard-earned cash is going to the right place. If you've not seen a boot battle before, what we do is we take these two boots, put them head to head over our 6 review categories here at BootWizard, assigning a winner and a loser to each category in a boxing card style scoring system, and whoever has the most points on the judges' scorecard at the end, my scorecard, is pronounced the winner. Remember to like the video, remember to get subscribed, and let's decide who takes round 1. Round 1 is all about the upper. And you've got two boots here that do share some similarities, but when it comes down to it, your touch and feel on the ball, it's very different between the two boots. We'll start with the Nike boot, the Phantom VSN 2, and this is a full knitted Flyknit outer shell with an internal quad fit mesh and ghost lacing system. We'll get more into the quad fit mesh when we get to the fit and comfort round, but for now I want to talk about this micro texturing that runs all the way around the outside of the boot and gives you a really nice additional little benefit, an extra bit of grip and feel on the ball, which is exactly what you want from a boot where you're supposed to be able to control and dictate the play. There's different levels of texturing around the boot depending on the different areas, with it being much more pronounced in the instep and then fading out around the lateral side of the boot. Well, there's definitely still texturing there. And then on top of that, again, speaking of different areas of the boot, you get these areas of thicker Nike skin, and they just give you a little bit more of a punchy feel on the ball when you compare it to the Phantom VSN 1. It's not necessarily a good thing or a bad thing, but it definitely does feel a little bit different. Also, compared to the VSN 1, the touch on the ball here is that little bit closer because there has been a layer of material removed from the inside. And overall, as a boot that's designed for that midfield maestro, the playmaker, is very sure, kind of sturdy yet still barefoot and close to the ball feel. It's one that I personally really enjoy. I think Nike have got this pretty spot on with what they were trying to do. Moving on to the Predator 20 Plus, and similarly to the VSN, it's a fully knitted upper, but this is prime knit, which is basically just Adidas's version of Flyknit, but it's put together in a very different way. There's no internal quad fit here or any kind of structure such as that, so all of the structure is built into the liner, into the upper, into the coating, the vamps, so it's not as soft as the VSN 2 is, especially not out of the box. And of course, you may expect that considering that you get all of these demon skin spikes, which are of course the big talking point here when we're discussing touch and feel on the ball in relation to a Predator 20. We've got to be talking about the demon skin. This is something that you will either love or hate, really. It does move the ball away from your foot a little bit. It feels like there's a distance and somewhat of a dampened sensation with your touch and feel on the ball, which maybe doesn't suit that description of what you'd expect from a control boot. But there's another discussion. Is this starting to err towards being more of a power boot, even though it is still marketed for control? But the demon skin does do as advertised. It gives you extra grip on the ball, which I genuinely feel helps you out if you're trying to hit those curve balls, maybe something with a bit of extra spin, and give you that little bit of extra control on the ball, especially once you get used to how to use these to your full advantage. Personally, for me, the demon skin is an excellent concept. It's been executed really nicely and it does as advertised, which is not something you can always say about a pair of football boots in 2020. But there are some things that I dislike, such as the upper just being that little bit stiffer in comparison, and generally the fit. But again, that's really for a different round. So if we've got to give them a score here, personally, I prefer the VSN, but when you put them head to head, they're so different and they offer such different feelings and touches on the ball. And I don't really think you can pick one over the other. It really is a case of what do you prefer? Do you want this slightly closer, more barefoot feel with the texturing? Or do you want to go all out and get this demon skin with the extra grip and potentially extra advantage on the ball there? Two ways of kind of doing the same thing, executed completely differently with completely different touch and feel on the ball. As I say, I prefer the Vision, but when it comes to scoring this round, the difference means it has to be 10-all, and this just has to be about what suits your game better. Next up, we're going to talk about the Soleplate, the stud pattern, the traction, how that all ties together. And we're going to start with the Nike boot again, and we're going to talk about this hyper-reactive Soleplate, which is one that I've never personally been particularly kind to. And it's not that I really dislike it, I just don't think it does anything particularly exceptionally. It's reasonably good, it has reasonable snapback, the stud pattern is fairly good for this idea of multi-directional movement, the studs are low enough profile to give you good purchase in firm natural grass, quite like the push-off area in the toe. It's aggressive enough without being too aggressive. It's good, but I don't love it. The Predator 20 range comes with this very cool split sole design, and if we're just talking about looks, well, this looks fantastic, but we're not interested in that. All we want to know is about the performance, and realistically, these are actually very similar in terms of their stud pattern and layout. The studs are low profile studs that are designed to give you good multi-directional movement, and they're slightly conical in shape with bladed studs through the heel. They offer very, very similar feelings. The Predator, however, is a little bit stiffer. I say a little bit stiffer, a lot stiffer through the midfoot and the heel, which does make it feel a bit more stable and a bit more responsive from the Soleplate. And you do get a bit better spring back in that toe area as well. However, with the Predator, this comes with an anatomical shaped Soleplate, which I find affects the fit a little bit negatively, and it's not something I particularly enjoy. We're purely talking about traction here. Which one of these gives the best overall traction from the studs and the Soleplate? And I think when you put them side by side, purely based on the Soleplate in this Predator, it might not be for everybody, and you might want the more flexible, slightly more friendly option from the Nike. I think this is a little more aggressive, and I think I like that a little bit more. So I'm going to give this win to the Predator, and we'll get into my issues regarding the fit later on. Let's talk value for money. Now, these two boots are two of the most expensive boots on the market right now, and they're right in with a price point that kind of boils my blood. It's a conversation that really irritates me, just this consistent escalation of price. The Predator 20 Plus comes in at €280, the Phantom Vision 2, €270. Now, the Phantom irritates me because the only reason it's one of the more premium priced Nike products is because it features a dynamic fit collar. That's generally how Nike's pricing system works. It's the reason the Superfly is more expensive than the Vapor. They add a collar and they add a premium price to that. Admittedly, the quad fit mesh, maybe it's expensive to produce, but their system, the more expensive boots, they're based around having a dynamic fit collar, which this boot barely has at all. Then we take the Predator 20 Plus, which in this iteration, the 20 range, actually has some features that I think are better than the 20.1. It's not just a case of the 20.1 being a 20 Plus with laces. So that is nice to see if you're buying the 20 Plus, but it's €280 for, in my opinion, an inferior boot. The lack of laces and therefore the lack of lockdown and responsiveness in comparison to that cheaper 20.1 model is just insane. So we've got two boots at premium price points that I don't believe belong at premium price points, and it's essentially brands trying to see how much they can get away with charging us for products that contain gimmicks. So for this, it's very simple. Neither boot gets the 10 points and neither boot gets the win. They're close enough together in price and they're both so expensive. It's a 9-all draw. We're deducting points for low blows to consumers from both of these boots. Fit and comfort. If you've seen my reviews on either of these boots, then you absolutely know where this is going. And if you want to see those reviews, then do click up in the corner of the screen, press the I, they'll be available there. Again, the Nike boot. So this, for me, is easily one of the most comfortable boots on the market. The way the quad fit mesh on the inside wraps around your foot, and then when you apply the tension to the quad fit mesh by pulling the laces tight, it gives you fantastic lockdown. The ghost lacing system is basically just there to facilitate the quad fit mesh, and it gives you the lace cover, so that's not a huge deal. And the fit overall is great. My one gripe is that this does run about a quarter of a size long. Not long enough for you to go down half a size, but long enough to be pretty irritating. So that's my only gripe with the fit and comfort of this boot. I think it's supremely comfortable and I think the fit is excellent for pretty much any foot type. And if you have a wide foot, this is the Nike boot that I always recommend. Now we get to the Predator 20 Plus. Now I have had issues with the 20 range as a whole, and the 20 Plus does seem to fit a bit better than those 20.1 models, or at least it doesn't seem to give me quite as many foot cramps. This boot, the 20 range, 20 Plus, 20.1, 20.1 low, they have a very narrow midfoot and a much wider toe box to the point where I have gone down half a size in these boots, and it does help out that toe box issue for sure. But in doing that, it does make the boot very tight. The anatomical sole plate kind of sucks up into your arch, which I think feels a bit strange. This boot requires quite a lot of break-in time. I don't think the heel lockdown is fantastic either. Not having laces affects the overall fit, feel, comfort, and lockdown in the boot. And when it comes down to it, this just, for me, isn't a boot that's been designed particularly well when it comes to fit and comfort. There's so many great elements about this boot. I like the new traction, I like the demon skin, Adidas are moving in the right direction, but fit and comfort is a big downfall for this boot. And with that said, there's only one way I can go with the scoring here, and it's to give 10 points to the Phantom Vision, and it's to only give 8 to the Predator. It's a knockdown. This really does get to me in terms of the fit and comfort issues that you experience, or I experience. So let's talk about the weight. These aren't speed boots, so we don't necessarily need to have the lightest boot possible, but we are going to weigh them and just see if there's any major differences or major problems between the two boots. We'll start with the Vision and just popping that on the scales there. That comes in at 224 grams. So it's not a particularly light boot, but at the same time, it's not heavy. It's not going to cause you any issues at all. Taking that one off, let's get the Predator on there. And the Predator is going to come in at 223 grams. These boots basically weigh the same. They've both been used pretty sparingly, so it's a fair comparison. And 223 versus 224, it has to be a 10-all draw, and there's no problems with weight here. If you want the lightest boot possible, this is probably the wrong category to be looking in. So let's talk about the looks. And for me, I think the Phantom Vision is very lucky to be in my hands in this particular colorway, the Neighborhood Pack, because I think this is the best one so far. And I think this makes the Vision look like a really, really nice boot. I don't think the general shape and silhouette is that nice. I think there's some kind of design quirks here, although the removal of that collar compared to the Vision 1 I think has definitely helped out a lot. Overall, this colorway looks great. I don't think the Vision 2 is a great looking football boot. The Predator, on the other hand, I think is completely insane. And this is totally a matter of personal preference. What do you prefer? Do you want a boot with a collar that comes up halfway up your calf and has crazy demon skin on it, and in this colorway, bright brushstroke paint effects going all the way around it? It's completely insane. Now, that is a matter of preference as to whether you like this or not, but I do love that Adidas have really gone out there for this one. They have made a big effort, and even the sole plate, the stud pan, that pearlescent finish in the back with the kind of paint strokes falling through the front. I realize that's from this specific colorway, but I really like the way this boot looks. Usually I wouldn't really pick a winner on looks because it's very, very personal, especially with something like this that I think is actually quite a good looking football boot, and something like this that I think is not. So I am very tempted to make this a 10-9 win to the Predator, but I think deciding which boot is better in a boot battle shouldn't be decided purely based on looks. So I'm gonna make this a 10-all draw, and you can draw your own conclusions as to which one you prefer. So we went big, we went Adidas versus Nike, we went Vision versus Predator, the two biggest control boots on the market right now, and the Phantom Vision 2 is our winner. Feel free to disagree with me down in the comments, which I am sure many of you will do. But if you do enjoy these boot battles, also let me know what you want to see battle next, and hit that like button so that I know you want to see more. Remember to get subscribed to pick up all of the future boot battles, as well as the unboxings and reviews I do. And if you do want to support the channel, head to patreon.com/BootWizard, where you can pledge. Well, I hope you've enjoyed the video today. I hope I haven't upset anybody too much. Have a good one, and we'll see you soon.